Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for tuning in to Best of Blue, hosted by the Young Alumni Council, as you can see on my shirt. Listen, you may be like, hey, what is this Young Alumni Council I've been hearing about? It's on the flyer. I've been seeing it all over Instagram. I think they had a tent at homecoming. You are absolutely right. So, the Young Alumni Council is a part of the Alumni Association that focuses on connecting Panthers with purpose. I love that so much. Our goal is connecting Panthers with purpose, and we target those alumni under the age of 40. We want to ensure that after you graduate from the university, that you're able to continue building that affinity. And if you didn't have an opportunity to get connected or plugged in undergrad, we want to give you that opportunity after you graduate as well. So we have two different committees: marketing and culture, partnerships and engagement. And this event is sponsored by our marketing and culture committee, which I am a member of, and I focus primarily on cultural development. So today, if you haven't seen the flyer and somehow you magically arrived here, welcome. I have the honor of meeting with and introducing our wonderful guest for today's Best of Blue. Dana Thomas, Esquire, is a trusted and influential trademark and entrepreneurship attorney and author in the Atlanta area and nationwide. She thrives on helping people build their lives, careers, and businesses with the support of the law, and focuses her practice on assisting entrepreneurs and entertainers in reaching their goals, protecting their businesses, and building strong brands. Everybody knows the importance of a strong brand. Dana has worked with major deals for popular networks like Fox, MTV, BET, WeTV, HBO. Listen, the list goes on. Not only has her faith and preparation led to inspirational success, such as being named the National Black Lawyers Top 100, selected as a legal elite by Georgia Trend, and honored with the Trailblazer Award for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. Dana also received her doctorate of law from Emory University School of Law. However, prior to attending law school, Dana graduated magna cum laude. Wow. And in the top 3% of her class from J. Mac Robinson College of Business. I'm an RCB alum. Please, go crazy right now in your homes, in your car, wherever you are. RCB is just the best. I love it. Okay, sorry, my bias is out of the way. But she graduated in the top 3% of her class at J. Mac Robinson College of Business at Georgia State University, with a bachelor's degree in marketing. She has also been named as an honoree for Georgia State University's 40 Under 40. Listen, I can go on and on and on about Dana's accolades and accomplishments, but I think you'd rather hear from the legend herself. So, Panthers, please help me in welcoming Dana Thomas.
Thank you, Scott. That is so awesome. I think that's the first time I've been called a legend, but I like it. I receive it. Thank you so much.
Listen,
I'm so
you've been a
happy to be
legend
here.
since I've known you. For those watching, me and Dana go way back. We're also members of the same fraternity, Alpha Kappa Psi. And I've just had the pleasure and privilege of watching Dana throughout her career. And she's such an inspiration, Dana. You are
Thank
wonderful.
you. I'm very proud of you too. And I love, 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 love Georgia State. Like Georgia State is really the beginning of this journey of my transformation into the brand Dana Thomas Law. So I'm excited to share those stories today.
That's awesome. So while we're jumping in, let's just get to know a little bit about you. So I kind of told them a little bit about, your major and different things. But let's kind of jump in. So are you originally from Georgia?
I'm actually from New York, born and raised in Brooklyn on Long Island. And, I came to Georgia, Atlanta at 17 just to go to Georgia State. So at that time when I was in high school, I knew that I wanted to pursue entertainment law. And at that time, which was 2006, 2007, so much culture and so much music and entertainment was coming from Atlanta. If you know anything about New Yorkers feel like New York is like the center of the universe. And we don't even see anything going outside of New York. But at that time, the movie ATL just came out, the music was booming, and a lot of that culture was reaching New York. And so I said, you know what? I want to go where I feel like I could make the best entertainment law career. And I said, I want to be in Atlanta. I did a Google search and I put what college is in Atlanta. First thing that popped up was Georgia State. I said, I've never heard of it before, but that's where I'm going. And that's actually how I ended up at Georgia State. I only applied to Georgia State in Georgia. And I ended up getting a scholarship. And at 17 years old, I made my way down to Georgia State. Had never been to Georgia before, no family, no friends there. But honestly, it was the best decision that I could have made.
Wow, that's awesome. Coming down to New York. Listen, I'm so thankful for Google. What schools are in Georgia? And Georgia State's the #1 school that pops up. That's great.
That's the one. And I didn't even apply to any other schools there. I said, that's the one right in the center downtown. That's where I'm going.
That's awesome. Wow. So you came down to Georgia State. So you knew that you wanted to go into law, entertainment law. So what and I told the audience a little bit earlier that you got your bachelor's degree in marketing. So what led you to go the marketing route for your undergraduate degree?
That's a great question. So when I first started, I was actually a political science major, as you can imagine, because it's the thought process that if you want to be a lawyer, political science, right? And so I did really well, but I was just so bored, right? It wasn't interesting. I just didn't really like it. And so I remember in my first semester, it might have been first or second semester. I think it was my first semester. I went to an event that Georgia State had because, Georgia State has events all the time. And it was an entertainment law panel. So the panel had like 4 or 5 different attorneys. Most of them were entertainment lawyers. Wow. And they all were marketing majors, every single one of them. And I said, whoa, it was mind blowing. I thought that you had to do something legal, political science, in order to be more marketable for law school. But I learned that you didn't. And they were all successful attorneys, and learned that you could major in anything to go to law school. And actually diversity in majors is actually, what these law schools are looking for. Literally, Scott, as soon as I finished with that event, I went straight to the office and changed my major to marketing. And I am so happy that I did, because marketing is an everything. So for everyone listening, like, even if that was not your major, if you don't know anything about marketing, go learn something about marketing, get a book, a course, something, because marketing is my definition of marketing is getting people to do what you want them to do, right? Whether that is selling something, attending an event, buying a service, participating, donating. We are marketing all the time. We're marketing ourselves, our product, our service, right? Whether you're an entrepreneur, you're not an entrepreneur, you are marketing, right? And so honestly, a lot of the success that I've had in my businesses is because I know marketing, right? And that all started from Georgia State. So I know that a lot of students and alumni graduate with a certain degree, but they really still feel like they're not good at that, right? I did not feel that way when I graduated from Georgia State with a marketing degree. I felt like I could go work at a marketing firm and make real change from what I learned in school, which was so fantastic. And it really made a huge difference for my career.
Wow. That's awesome. So one panel changed the major, not even overnight, same day.
This is the thing, right? About creating your own lane, right? Or going with the theme. So you have to be ready to switch and change, right? You can't just do what everyone else is doing, right? That's going against the grain. Don't just do what everyone else is doing. Do what you feel like is best for you. So there's probably a lot more political science majors or lawyers with political science degrees than marketing degrees, because that was just what was known before. Right. But that just wasn't for me. And I know that what's for me will be for me. And even if I'm an art major or a science major or whatever it is, I would have still been an attorney. Right. But just the marketing degree helped so much. So I created my own lane and, switched to marketing.
That's awesome. Wow. So you talked a little bit about your undergrad degree or your undergrad experience with the panel that you went to. So could you tell us a little bit more about your experience in undergrad from the sense of, how involved were you? And do you think that all students in some capacity should get involved in undergrad?
Yes. So coming from New York and never have been to Georgia before, no family, no friends there. My first 2 years was very difficult. I was very lonely. I was homesick. I lived on campus. This is when I can't remember what the housing is called. The one that's right across from the gas station. What is that building called?
Across from the gas station. Is that the Commons?
Yes, the Commons. So when I started law school, the Commons was brand new. So I was like, we were the first class to ever be in the Commons. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
fantastic living quarters. It was beautiful, brand new, everything brand spanking new. So I enjoyed that, but I was homesick because I felt like I was always at school, right? So coming from a different state, New York culture is very different from Georgia culture, right? And then me being there on my own, and like when I'm at home, I'm at school. And then when I'm in class, I'm at school. And then when there's social events on campus, I'm at school, right? So I'm like always
Yeah.
at school, which was very difficult for me. And I didn't have my car. So I really had to depend on brand new friends, people that I just met, right? To get to the grocery store, get to an event. So it was pretty difficult, but I mean, everyone was willing to help, right? So, but it's just, I guess, my personality being new and not wanting to ask and things like that. So, my first 2 years was pretty hard, not really socially, but just homesick wise. It was very different. But, I actually, Scott, almost transferred. So,
Really?
after my sophomore year, I was so homesick. I went home, I took all of my stuff with me and I had applied to a school in New York. I got accepted and I was going for like orientation, right? And then I'm sitting in orientation and I'm like, this does not feel right. Something about it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel peaceful. I didn't feel good running or leaving Georgia State. And I said to my mom, I said, I just don't feel good about this. Like I'm gonna go back. But if I go back, I have to bring my car and I have to move off campus. So that's what I did. I came back, I brought my car and I moved off campus. And when I say, Scott, that it changed so much, it just that sense of independence, right?
Yeah.
Helped a lot. But not only that, one major change that I made was I got involved on campus. One thing that I love about Georgia State is that the cool kids, the popular kids are the students that are involved, right? You're the president of this or the vice president of this, the chair of this. Those are the popular kids at Georgia State. And I just love that because it really creates the environment of leadership, right? It's cool to be smart. It's cool to be responsible, right? The cool kids were always the one that were darting across campus from meeting to meeting, right? Not the ones that's partying all the time or throwing the parties,
Yeah.
this and that, right? But
Yep.
it was the students that are, being leaders. And I just love that about Georgia State. So when I was there, I was the president of Golden Key, which is a National Honor Society, for about 2 years. And then Alpha Kappa Psi, which you mentioned, Alpha Kappa Psi is a business fraternity, completely changed my life. When I say completely, I was nervous I would never go on any on-campus interviews because I was so nervous. Can you imagine me nervous like that? I wouldn't even go.
I cannot.
I would not even go because I was so nervous. I hated wearing business attire. I felt like it was the most awkward thing ever. And then I joined Alpha Kappa Psi professional business fraternity and changed me completely. And all the way to the point where I ended up being the section director, which means I was over all of the chapters in Georgia. So just being involved helped me to flourish. It really did. And all of that, were stepping stones to where I am now. So it, being involved is that's like a staple, I think, for Georgia State. Like that's one of the best things about it. There's so many things to do, and it's cool, like really, really cool and encouraged,
Absolutely. So we've gotten some questions that have come in already. So the first one, it says, similar to you, many people just find their way to GSU and have the time of their lives. However, many current students think about transferring after 1 or 2 years without truly exploring all that GSU has to offer. Do you have any advice for those students who may want to leave prematurely, or guidance to those mentors who are advising these students on their university journeys?
Absolutely. I sure do. So this is the thing. Someone's advice does not work for everybody. You have to know, like, what is your ultimate goal, right? So for me, my goal was to get into law school, right? Getting into law school, it is not about where you went undergrad. It's about your LSAT score. It's about your grades and your leadership and your involvement on campus. You can do that anywhere, right? You are going to be the same you, whether it's at Georgia State, whether it's at Emory, whether it's at Stanford, whether it's at whatever school you are. And if you are fantastic at Georgia State, you'll be able to achieve your goals. If you're fantastic at Stanford, you'll be able to achieve your goals, right? But you're going to be the same you, right? So
Yeah.
I really don't believe that it's the school that makes you, it's the impact that you make on your school, right? It's what are you doing with your time while you're there? If you want to get in law school and knowing that law school is big on grades, right? Make sure you get the best grades. But if you want to work for your family's company and run your family's company, your grades don't matter that much. So maybe you need to work on relationships and learning business and making sure that you're doing well in your business classes, right? So I think that the old ideology or the old reputation that Georgia State used to have of just being a commuter school. And I know a lot about that because I used to work at the call center, right? And so when we just had a football team, like it made me sound like a dinosaur, but when I was at Georgia State, it was the first season of the football team, right? And I was working at the call center and we had to tell alumni about this football team. And they're like, you're calling from where? Georgia State. They would tell us the story. They would tell us the stories that they would just go to Georgia State after work, right? Take classes and drive back home. So Georgia State is completely different reputation-wise and what it has to offer than it was before. And if you are taking advice from people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, right? They're thinking of Georgia State from the older Georgia State that it used to, right? Taking it from, those in the 20s and 30s, we have had the experience of seeing Georgia State for what it is now. And it has all, if not more, what other schools have to offer at a better price and with a better peace and balance, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. And in terms of guidance on mentors, I mean, mentors will speak from their own experience, right? So you just have to know who you're getting advice from. Do you want to be in the position or a similar position as that person that you're getting advice from? Or are you just taking their advice because they're successful in a lane that really has nothing to do with you, right? So there's a lot of different factors involved, but that's my take on it. Go GSU.
Go GSU. So you touched a little bit on creating your own lane, and we have another question in, and they're getting right to it. So they want to know, as an entrepreneur, what are some strategies you use to build new business relationships and collaborations?
Yep. So for one, I would say start early. If you know that you want to have a business, you don't start marketing yourself or building relationships once you launch your business. You start now. Like I knew that at some point I wanted to launch my own firm. I started building those relationships at GSU in law school, right? Because that's when you really can build those genuine relationships. So one, don't start once you launch, you start now, right? Because as an entrepreneur, one of the best things to do is when you launch, you don't want to seem like a rookie, right? Where it's like you launch and no one had any idea that you even had a talent in providing this service, right? Or providing this product. And then all of a sudden you want people to buy from you and refer business to you. It doesn't really work like that. So what you want to do, step number one is start now, right? So if you have not launched your business yet, start building those relationships now. The other thing I want to say is there's a difference between building relationships and networking. I don't believe in networking. When we think of networking, it's like just exchanging business cards. Hi, I'm Dana Thomas. I do trademark law, and you collect information. You may or may not even do anything with that information. Yeah. The other thing that you should not do is when you meet someone, do not ask for anything, right? Don't ask for anything. That person is a stranger to you. Even though you're in college, right? Some of you that are watching might be alumni. Some of you might still be students. Even though you're in school, you are still a grown adult. Right. And so that doesn't mean that a professional should give you any of their time. Right. So when you're building relationships, you don't ask for anything for I say for at least a year. What you do is you serve that person, you serve them. And then you ask for something. Because if someone just, if you send someone an email, say, hey, I found you online. I'd love to learn how you did XYZ. Can we meet for coffee? Right. Or can we do a Zoom call? Why? Right. Why should I spend my time giving you that information? Right. But if you flip the conversation and you really want to build a relationship, you can email and say, hi, I came across your page. I love what you're doing. I see that you are focused on XYZ. My goal is to do XYZ as well. I see on your website you have a blog. I would love to write for your blog. I have a few ideas. These are the ideas that I have, bullet point 1, 2, and 3. Please let me know if you're interested in any of these topics, and I'll be more than happy to write for your blog.
Yeah.
Come on now. Yes, because I don't have time to write for my blog, and I would love for you to help me write for my blog, right? And after you write 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 articles for me, guess what? I'm going to feel like I owe you something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when there's an internship that comes up, who's the first person that I'm going to? If there's a opportunity that comes up, who's the first person that I'm going to? If I have, if I'm speaking at an event and I need assistance, who am I going to come to be my right-hand person? That person who has been serving me, and I know that they want to come under my wing. So that's how you build a relationship, right? So that is the difference. That is what the advice that I have on building relationship and collaborations. You serve. Don't ask for anything until you've earned it.
That's powerful. I hope y'all writing that down. Take that to heart. No, that's key. I think that's helped me a lot in my career as well. Just I had to stop approaching things from like, what can oh, this person is doing this. What can they do for me? And it's more so like, what can I do from you? What can I learn from you? How can I make your life easier? Because I think when you can bring value to a relationship, right? Like show what you have to offer first before you
absolutely
people. So that's powerful. So next question here, how do you stay connected with your community outside of your career?
Yep. You know what? That is difficult. And that's difficult because I feel like my work is so connected to my purpose in life. Like I'm very spiritual. I feel like I don't do anything until I feel the spirit tell me that I'm supposed to be doing that, which is why I took the non-traditional route of starting my own law firm out of law school. Everyone told me not to do it, right? But I did because I felt like that was my purpose. And so me pursuing my career, feeling that it's purpose driven and really spiritually based, like a lot of my life is related to my work because I'm so passionate about it. I can be out for drinks with friends, like that's a social environment, right? And I'll be asking the bartender, you're working here, but what do you really want to do? Like, what do you really want? And I do that all the time. What do you really want to do? Like, do you want to start a business? Like, I know this is not at the end all be all, and we have conversations, right? So my friends think it's annoying, but I love that. Like, I love hearing people's stories because I really feel like every other person that you meet is an entrepreneur or wants to be an entrepreneur or is an entertainer or wants to be an entertainer, right? So I just love hearing people's stories. So in terms of separating it, I mean, I feel like not so much, but it doesn't feel like work to me. Like I just love talking about it. It's who I am. It's easy to me. So I don't know. I do travel, right, to go on vacation. But when I'm off, Scott. I am off. Like my staff knows, it's on my calendar. I am off. Like I am nobody's surgeon, right? So I do not need to be on call like that. So when I do take the time, I take the time. But it's a big part of just who I am.
Oh, that's awesome. So you talked a little bit about how you started your own law firm right out of college, right? Mm-hmm. What are some of the challenges you faced as a woman in your industry?
To be honest, I have not faced any challenges that I attribute to being a woman. Like I just have not. I am young. So, and I'm like an anomaly almost or it's very rare. I'm young, I'm Black, and I'm a woman, right? And I'm in this white male, older dominated field. But I never felt like I was at a disadvantage because there's something very special about being different.
Yeah.
There have been times where people have called, like I literally had people more than one occasion call my office, right? And ask me if I was Black, right? Like, are you Black? I'm like, yes, I am. Like, okay, because I was looking for a Black attorney. Or, they called me for a consultation and they say, I've been searching for a female attorney that specializes in this. So even though it can be rare, right? If you truly embrace it, like people love that, So I am like, my picture or whatever is on the forefront of everything because I want people to know exactly who they're working with. Yes, I'm young, I'm a woman, I'm Black, and I love that being a huge part of my firm because I really feel like that makes it thrive the way it does. So I've never seen being a woman reduce that in any way. I have my picture on my picture on my business card. I can show it to you. Right, on all my business cards. Let it work for you, ladies. Take the best picture that you possibly can take. Get your makeup done, get your hair done, and market it. You know what I mean? So, I no, I love it. It's been fantastic. You know, so it hasn't been a challenge for me at all.
Okay. That's good to hear, though. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's your mindset. If you think that something's going to hold you back, it will hold you back. There's been so many legal events where I am the only whatever, right? The only, and I love that because I don't need a job from any of you. I have my own firm, I have my own clients. I'm here because I want to build relationships. I want to enjoy this. So it's just your mindset.
That's awesome. So I have my own separate question, kind of following up to that. So for some of our audience who may be, young Black women that are interested in going into law, but maybe not necessarily opening their own business right out of college, do you have any advice for them as far as navigating the industry where they're seeking out some of these law firms to work there and how they can, I'd say put their best foot forward or work on that, branding as far as, pushing into that industry?
Yes. So when you're in law school, you can operate law school. And you're talking specifically about those that want to be lawyers, right?
Right.
Okay. So when you're in law school, there's two ways that you can navigate law school. You can navigate law school, and this is the more popular way. Okay. Taking a little bit of everything, right? I'm taking a little bit of family law and a little bit of real estate law, a little bit of trust of estate, a little bit of business, a little bit of criminal. And you take a little bit of everything throughout your entire 3 years of law school, hoping that you can get a job in one of those areas, right? That's what a lot of people and lawyers advise. However, I don't believe in that. I believe in committing to what you really want to do and going full force after that, because I feel like if you take a little bit of everything during law school, you're not going to be good at anything by the time that you graduate. So when you get to these interviews, you're not going to be that confident. You're just going to be happy to be there. You know what I mean? And you just want them to hire you, and you hope that something on your resume sparks them that you might be able to work there, right? But I mean, everybody does it like that. I believe that the better way to go through law school is as soon as you can, decide on what type of law you want to practice, what type of environment you want to be in, and commit to that. So for me, I knew I wanted to do entertainment law, right? Entertainment business. So everything that I did throughout law school for 3 years was entertainment and business. I took all the classes I possibly could take. I went to every single event related to that I possibly could go to. If there weren't any events, I was hosting my own events, right? There was a Sports and Entertainment Law Society. If they weren't hosting anything, literally, I would host my own event. Like all I need to do is reserve a room. That's the only thing. You don't have to be attached to an organization. You just reserve a room. I reach out to attorneys that are entertainment lawyers. I invite them. I make a flyer online and I post it all on campus. And it's my event, but it's an entertainment law event. And guess what? Now I'm being known as the entertainment law student, right? And so I was very selfish with my time when it came to what I wanted to pursue, right? So the internships that I took, the events that I went to, the classes I took, all those things. And so by the time that I graduated from law school, oh my gosh, I got a job offer and I didn't even apply, So I really believe in that. If you commit to it and you dedicate yourself to that, by the time you graduate and your resume is full of whatever it is and you have, good relationships in that industry, it's all going to work better for you and you'll have more options. So don't be afraid of saying like, I'm going to commit to this, but what if there's another opportunity? You decide what you want and you make that happen for you, right? Don't just take a little bit of everything and hope that somebody hires you, because you'll end up in a job that you hate. So that would be my advice.
Oh, that's powerful. So my next question is, we're talking about going against the grain and creating your own lane. So what was the journey like to where you are now?
Absolutely. So in law school, so I went to Emory for law school. It has nothing on Georgia State, by the way, but I went to Emory for law school. And when I did know that I wanted to do entertainment law, but when you get to law schools, a lot of times they pull you in like every direction, right? Or they will give you like it's a formula, or they put you in a system. They want everyone to work for big law firms because big law firms mean typically mean larger starting salaries. And if you have larger starting salaries, it's better stats for the school, better relationships with those law firms, and it looks better on the school, even though it might not be best for the student.
Yeah.
So at Emory, for me, I was pressured. I felt pressured into doing what everyone else was doing, which was preparing yourself or marketing yourself for a big law firm.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, right, you try to beef up your resume so that you can get, summer internships and things like that. So in an effort to beef up my resume, I started trying to get internships and jobs over the summer and all of that. Turns out that the internships and jobs that I got happened to be with solo attorneys and very small firms, right? And so that was my first exposure to really owning your own law firm, entrepreneurship in the law, having a small firm, not wearing a suit to work. Your clients love you, running your firm how you want to, coming into work at, the time that fits for you, making your own hours. That was my first introduction to that. And I said, oh my God, this is a totally different way to do law. And I love this. So after working with a few solo attorneys, I said, you know what, this fits with my spirit. This is what I really want to do. And after my first year of law school, I decided that I was going to start my own law firm right out of law school. And Scott, when I tell you that everyone thought I was crazy, everyone thought I was crazy. No one, not one person in this whole entire world told me that it was a good idea. No one. My mom and my dad, they support me in things that I do, but they're like, shouldn't you work somewhere for a little bit, get experience? And I understand, right? Because that's what people know, right? You know, to get experience before you start your own law firm. Completely understand. But I just felt such a deep calling to start my law firm, right out of school. I felt like that was my journey, that I really committed to it. So those second 2 years of law school, I did everything I could to learn about business, to learn about entrepreneurship. I even started a consulting company where I helped people like form LLCs and just not legal work, but just kind of general consulting so I can learn about challenges that entrepreneurs have and how I could potentially assist them in my future law firm. And when I graduated, Scott, I did not apply to any job. So when I was graduating, I didn't apply to a single job. I didn't send one resume. I didn't take one interview, nothing. That's how committed I was to my plan A that I made. There was no plan B. And I was committed to my plan A. So out of that little bit of fear, right, I still got an offer from a law firm that I worked for in my third year. And out of that little bit of fear, I took it. And I worked there for like 3 months and quit because it just didn't feel right. I was not happy. I knew I didn't want to do that. And 2 months later, I started my law firm. So I actually launched my firm 4 months after being sworn in.
Wow.
Yep. And it's been 6 years now and it's thriving. And we have a staff of 9. And my whole law firm, like 90% of my law firm is automated. And it's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Wow. So that's the thing, right? Going against the grain and creating your own lane. I went against the grain. There was no one that told me to do what I did. No one. But that's the thing. If you know what you're supposed to be doing, and I feel like a lot of times we do know, but we look for validation in other people, right? They're not going to be able to give you the validation that you need because they're not you. The instruction wasn't given to them. It was given to you. So people, they're not going to understand. So you have to be able to commit to whatever you feel like you were meant to be, right? We don't need validation from other human beings, right? So that's me going against the grain and then creating your own lane. I had never seen this before, really. Like anyone starting their own law firm out of law school, like none of my family members are entrepreneurs. Mentors were like, Dana, what are you doing, right? But so I did create my own lane, right? So, and I figured out a lot of things on my own. My background in marketing really, really helped me get clients. Like that is what it was like, because you don't really know how to do the law that much. Law school does not teach you how to do the law. They don't teach you how to practice law, teach you how to think, right? So essentially, I knew how to research really, really well. So even if it was my first time having a certain type of client, I could research. But I created my own lane to the point where now I have an online school, Scott, where I teach other lawyers how to start their own law firm. And we have like 115 attorneys in the program across the entire United States. Yep. And we've launched like lots of firms. So it makes a difference.
115 attorneys. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Over a period of like 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years.
Again, I say legend.
I see questions.
So we know, or I'm sure you know, that going against the grain and creating your own lane is not always easy,
Mhm.
right? So what have been some of your biggest challenges and how did you overcome and rise above
You know, Scott, when I get this question, I mean, people probably don't like the answer,
them?
but it's only hard if you make it hard. The first thing that you have to get right, Scott, is your mind. You cannot
Mm,
do anything. Nothing will work if your mind isn't right. So I
yeah,
spent a lot of time in law school, like pumping my mind, feeding my mind with motivational stuff. I stopped listening to music. I wouldn't even listen to music anymore in the car. I wouldn't like in the shower or when I'm getting dressed. I'm constantly pumping in like I want on YouTube, right? And go motivational, whatever, whether it's from
yeah,
Steve Harvey or Oprah or Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone or whoever it is at the moment. That's all I was listening to, you know?
yeah,
And if there was anything negative in my life, I had to eliminate that so that the only thing around me was positivity, success, right? Optimism, faith, right? I pumped that into my brain for like the whole time I was in law school, essentially, right?
wow,
And then it changes the way that you think. Because if you really believe in what you're doing and you know ultimately it will work out for your good, this is whatever the setback is like, okay, yeah, maybe you didn't make that much money this month, right? But does that mean that you're going to quit? The only way that you fail is if you quit. There have been times where I've made $800 for the month, right? When I first started, right? But if I quit, then I'm done. What if I had quit at that time? I would not be where I am right now, right? So
right.
you have to know in your mind that it's temporary. I always said to myself, worst case scenario was I would go to Florida and live with my dad and my grandmother who lived next door. She would cook me 3 meals a day and I'd start all over. That's not so bad. Florida's great, right? The beach is there. So I wouldn't be on the street. I'll go back home, right? If I needed to do that. That's the worst case scenario. But what's the best case scenario, right? That it turns out something like this, right? I'm still not done. But that's you just have to keep that in your mind. So in terms of challenges, yeah, there's been times where some months weren't as good as other months, or I don't know, you have a situation with the client, or you file a trademark application that might not that you have a challenge for, whatever it is, that there's no way that you can alleviate your life from things like that. So if you
Yeah,
think that Oprah doesn't have big problems, she has big problems. You know what I mean? So it's
right.
everyone has it. So you might as well have those problems building something fantastic for yourself because you could still have those problems as an employee, right? So you might as well do something fantastic for yourself.
Wow. That's I feel like I'm learning so much. Like even just like
Yeah.
how you got rid of the music and you focus on things that were that were uplifting you and giving you that motivation that you needed. Uh,
Podcast, all that stuff. Like I even do it now. Like I use audiobooks when I'm in the car, boop, every single time. You know, that's valuable time when you're in the car. Like you have to constantly pump your brain with those things. You're brainwashing yourself into positivity and faith. Like it works.
mm, I'm hearing a new lane. I'm hearing a new
Good.
lane right now, and I think
Awesome.
you should drop some motivational podcast material. The people
I
will love
can't
to
help
hear
it.
from
I
you.
always do. You should hear me on my consultations. Like the
Listen,
client called about a trademark, and we're over here talking about faith and pursuing your dreams. And it's that like I mentioned, it's a part of who I am, you know.
right,
So my conversations are never strictly about legal, it's never strictly about business because there's more to the story than that.
absolutely.
Mhm,
So we got few more questions came in. So for someone who has graduated a few years ago
mhm.
and not really using their degree, what advice would you suggest to help them rekindle the passion they had when getting their degree to find and create their own dream job?
I would say if the passion is not there anymore, right? What are you passionate about? Right?
Mm,
Because sometimes we could feel like you're kind of mourning that degree, like, oh, I have a degree in finance,
yeah,
but I'm not using my finance degree, right? And I don't have a passion for that anymore. My advice is not going to be to find the passion for finance. My advice is going to be what are you passionate about, right? Because whatever you are passionate about is what you're supposed to be doing. You probably lost your passion for finance because that was a stepping stool to wherever you're supposed to be now, right?
Mhm.
So we can't always put the plan together, right? It might not make sense to us, but you had that experience for a reason. So I would say really like talk to yourself, dig inside and say, what are you passionate about? And it doesn't have to have anything to do with your degree or finance in our example. I'm not going to be doing legal services forever. I'm probably done with this in the next 2 years as a part of my journey, right? So I
Mhm.
won't, at that time, I won't say, oh, I'm a lawyer. I spent all that time and all this money on loans. I have to continue that journey. It's what do you want to do right now, right? So
Right.
I would say, don't put so much pressure on yourself to rekindle that passion. If that passion is dead, really look into what are you passionate about now. When you close your eyes and you think about yourself in 5 or 10 years, what do you see, right? What gets you excited? What do you do the best with the least amount of effort, right? And so creating your own dream job, I love that. What do you really want to do? So I say a lot of times people limit themselves based on what they think is possible,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
if they have a finance degree but they really love cooking, they're like, how am I going to be a millionaire off cooking?
Yep.
Trust me, if you commit to cooking, right, and using social media and showing what you're making and putting up your website and creating your business and marketing and branding yourself, right? If you do that, what is meant for you will happen. You never know. There might be a celebrity that comes across your page and hires you to be their personal chef, right? But if you never started, you would never know. Right.
Right.
So just follow whatever passion you feel like you have now. Right. And it's okay to change here and there, but don't limit yourself on what you think is possible. Do what you really feel like you were called to do and what you have that passion for now. That's what I would say.
That's wonderful advice. Just giving yourself permission to let your passions change. Like
Yes,
that's
and it
wow.
does change. It does change. I just got into the music industry. I co-own a record label. I did not have a passion for owning a record label when I was in law school, right? Or when I graduated law school. I never saw that in my future, but the stars aligned where that's where I am right now. And I love it, right? So
Mhm.
you never know. You never know.
Wow. So we have another question which asks, what is your general advice for young professionals looking to productively navigate professional spaces?
Okay, so professional spaces like I'm thinking maybe like events that you go to, right? So the first thing that I would say, right, you're trying to be productive. You have to figure out what is your goal, right? What is your
Right.
goal for going to this event? Because it shouldn't be to collect business cards. What do you have to offer, right? Because again, I'm assuming that person is an adult, right? So we can't go to events just looking to suck out of other people. We have to have
Yeah.
something to offer, right? And that doesn't mean that you have to have a business or a product or a service, right? But there's something that you're good at that you can exchange with that person or at least build a relationship. So I would say figure out what you have to offer to other people. It could be your time, right? It could be maybe you're good at graphic design, right? Maybe you want to get into law, but you're not good at law yet. You're good at graphic design, right? And maybe you want to meet people so that lawyers have events, right? I have
Yeah.
created, when I was in law school, I would create flyers and Facebook pages for attorneys. There's an attorney that would do a Thanksgiving holiday event every year. And I
Okay.
just offered to make a Facebook page and create a flyer and do an invitation list. That has nothing to do with the law, right? But she actually called me right now. And I was in law school when I did that. That was, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, right? And she literally called me today. And
Wow.
that relation to invite me to her 20-year law firm anniversary. And that started from me asking to do her Facebook page for a Thanksgiving event that she was doing for her law firm, right? So you have something to offer people when you're in this professional space, because the fact that you're a student or you're new or you're just entering this space, that is not good enough, because people are looking for some type of exchange, right? So being productive. The
Mhm.
other thing I would say is your confidence, right? What's meant for you is for you. Do not make yourself any smaller because someone is further along in their career or they have more or they're doing this or they're doing that. You are just as important as that other person. Just make sure you look professional,
Yeah.
right? Get your business card. I believe everyone should have a business card. I do not think that business cards are outdated. I think that boring business cards are outdated. as you can see, I'll give you a look at one of my business cards. Be prepared, right? So put your photo on your business card so people can remember who you are. Here's what my business card looks like now. That was actually an older one, right? So here's my logo right there, and you can actually see a picture right there, and then another picture here, right? It's very festive. I want people to remember who I am. Trademark attorney, trademark, right? I do some other types of law occasionally, but I want them to remember me for a trademark, right? So just be prepared, be confident, and have something to offer. That's what I would recommend. And again, the offer does not have to be a product or a service. It can just be something that you're good at, right?
Yeah.
Or your time.
That's awesome. So do you have any advice for women trying to juggle business, motherhood, family? You know, there's so many different nuances.
These are such good questions. You'll have the right one. You really do. You have the right one. So my story about that. So I started when I started my same year that I started my law firm. I had my son the year after that. So I started my law firm in March 2016 and I had my son in September 2017. Did not expect that to happen, right? However, so when I say that I had no handouts building my law firm, I lived in Georgia, my family lived in New York and Florida. My parents did not live here. I have my car expenses, I have my apartment expenses, insurance, every other bill, and a baby, right? As a single mom, right? And I still did it, right? So when I say that you can do whatever you want to do, whatever you plan to do, you just have to commit to it and make the decision. Success is all about making the right decisions. You're going to be faced with decisions all the time, and you can't let your fear stop that. So actually, for me, having my son helped me a lot because when I first became an entrepreneur, it was my first time that I had real freedom, right? So I'd wake up at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I might work for 2 hours during the day, right? Because no one's looking for me. I own my own firm, so I can build my own schedule. As you can imagine, that is not my best, right? But once I became a mother, my son is up at 5 a.m. I'm up at 5 a.m., right? There's a certain strict schedule that you have to be on. Once he's asleep, I have to be very productive during that time. I had to make the very difficult decision I moved to Florida and actually lived with my grandmother for 8 months, right? That was a hard decision. I was very independent. I had just learned launched my law firm. I had my own apartment. I was doing really well. And I said, you know what? I have to make the decision to get some help. So I moved to Florida. I literally ran my law firm from my grandmother's bedroom for 8 months and made 6 figures. There is no excuse. You can do it. Her bed was to the side. We got a desk that my dad had in his garage and put it in her bedroom. And I literally ran the law firm from there and made 6 figures. So when I tell you it's not easy, right? Because I also had to make the decision to put my son in daycare at 5 months. I did not want to do that, right? But I knew that decision was for him. Right now, he lives great, right? Because of the decision that I made. Even though I didn't want to do that, but you have to realize it doesn't mean that you're a bad mother or you're a bad parent. The decision is up to you. Nobody else can make that decision for you. And yes, we don't want to put our babies in daycare at 5 months, but that's a hard decision that I had to make so that I can build my firm, so that I can build the life for myself and my son that I wanted to, right? And as soon as we left grandma's room, I went and bought my first house on my own, right from grandma's bedroom, right back in Georgia 8 months later, all on my own. So it was fantastic. It was me and my son just on our own, living in a 5-bedroom house, right? Or 4-bedroom house at the time. So everything is temporary, right? When you think about whatever you're going through, it's temporary. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, right? It doesn't matter if it's non-traditional. So what, you have a law firm and you're running it from your grandmother's bedroom, right? That is temporary. It's a stepping stool. So just make the decisions now that you need to. And again, on family, right? Juggling it, your family, everybody's not going to understand what you're doing. And it's okay. They don't need to understand what you're doing. They don't have to agree with what you're doing. And they also don't have to support what you're doing, right? Unless it's your spouse, right? If it's your husband or a wife, then that's different. But I'm talking about mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, uncles, aunties, best friends, all those things. They don't have to give you anything. They don't have to support you. They don't have to buy your products. They don't have to retweet or repost or whatever, because that decision to be an entrepreneur or to pursue whatever your career is, that was a solo decision. You made that decision on your own. There wasn't a voting process where everybody put their vote in, right? You made that on your own. So it would be great for everyone to support what you're doing or to say yes and be a cheerleader for you all the time. But that's just not realistic. So let your family be your family. You do not have to share all of your plans and your ideas all the time. Just work silently and produce what you're doing and just make decisions. You're going to have to make the hard decisions. So that's the advice and story that I have for that. I could go on more about that, but
listen, the audience wants you to have a podcast. So
I know, right?
They want you to have a podcast. But speaking of, you also have a talk show called Launched and Legal.
I do.
On the Atlanta Small Business Network. What has that experience been like, and what led you to start that endeavor?
Absolutely. So again, the going against the grain and creating your own lane. Had I not started my law firm, I would not have had this opportunity. So maybe about a year into starting my law firm, I got an email from the producer for a show to be a guest contributor on the Atlanta Small Business Show, right? So essentially just a segment of an episode, and they were asking about legal stuff. And they really liked me. So they asked me over the next like 2 or 3 years to come back. So I probably did that show as a contributor maybe 4 times. And on the 5th time after I shot the show with them, it was virtual. They said, Dana, we love you. We think that you are awesome. We would love to offer you your own show. Boom. That's how it came. And I'm in full control of like the production of the show. We have an awesome studio on Peachtree Corners. I have producers. They edit everything for me. It's just like when you think, and I'm here thinking that I want to be on YouTube, right? YouTube is great, right? I still do want to do my videos on YouTube, but I just never found the time to do it, right? And even though YouTube is a great platform, and here God had other plans for me, and there's a full studio with a production team. And yeah, it's called Launched and Legal. And I talk about legal aspects of business, but not just legal, because as you can see, I love more than just legal. We talk about marketing, branding, finance, accounting, just all around, like to help entrepreneurs, right, in their business journey. So yeah, the show I started in January. I think we have about 40 episodes so far, but you can find that at myasbn.com/launched-and-legal.
Wow. Trademark author, talk show host. You're just breaking down barriers, creating so many lanes. It's amazing.
And that's what happens when you go against the grain and you follow your own lane. Things that you can't even imagine will happen. Like I could not have predicted the record label, or even having the idea for the book or the show or the online school. Like I wasn't thinking about any of that when I was in law school. I was only thinking about the law firm, right? And look at all the other things that came from that. So you really have to stay true to who you are. You have a lot of times you have to ignore people. I'm gonna say that again. You have to ignore people, right? And their opinions about whatever that you're doing. But ignore them, but love them. Don't be mad at them. You're not mad at them at all. You love them still, but just understand the message wasn't for them, right? So they're not going to feel it the way that you feel.
Absolutely.
So just believe in yourself, pump in that motivational everything all the time. You be obsessed with whatever you want to do, and it will work. Just don't quit.
Don't quit. Dana, this has been amazing. I think even in our talk, we planned for like 30 minutes. We're on like 50, coming up on 55 minutes. The questions have been flowing. The conversation is amazing. As we begin to wrap up, and before you let the people know where they can find you and follow you, do you have any last words that you want to share, words of encouragement, wisdom, anything that you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, I mean, outside of what I've already said, I feel like we know what we're supposed to be doing. Like, I feel like we really know, right? So when we ask people for advice, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? You already know kind of what you should be doing, but it's just that little bit of fear makes you not do it. So just dig deep inside on what you already know you should be doing. And then the other thing that I want to say is it all matters, right? It all matters. What do I mean by that? Yeah. If you want to start a business or have a successful career, how you treat your neighbor matters. How you treat your family members matter. How you treat the telemarketers that call your phone that you're cursing out. That matters. Everything matters. So that if you think that you can just separate being like, oh, I'm good at business and I treat my clients good, but I'm mean at home, or I'm mean to my friends, or I'm gossiping, or I'm always talking about this person, or I respond negatively to people, or I have anger issues, that's why it's not working, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes we get so frustrated about why am I not getting clients, or whatever it is. It's because there's areas in your life that you need to work on. So what I have learned is you have to change from the inside out, right? Whatever is on your outside in your life is going to be a reflection on what's on the inside of you. You cannot pay me, Scott, to argue with somebody. You cannot pay me. I just don't do it. I don't do it. And if there's any environment that I'm in that has to make me be a different person than who I want to be and who I feel like God would be proud of, I'm not in that environment. You have to be willing to change your environment, right? Whether that's people or places, so that you can be the best version of yourself. And remember, it all matters. You always have to do the right thing. No one is perfect, right? So I'm not talking about perfection. But if you know what the right thing is, it's always going to be hard. It's always going to be inconvenient, and it's going to be not fun, whatever the right thing to do is. But I'm telling you, it's better than your business failing. Right? I would rather do this one uncomfortable thing than work really hard at my business and it not work out. Right? Let me just do this uncomfortable thing and keep doing the right thing, so that all that positivity could trickle into the things that I really love and want to be successful for myself. So it all matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. One thing I was taught growing up, they said your gifts will take you where your character can't keep you.
That's
So
right.
listen, make sure y'all doing the right thing.
Do the right
Dana,
thing.
where can they follow you? Where can they find you? Everything you have going on. How can we support you?
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'm very active on Instagram. I feel like Instagram is like, I give advice, I give inspiration, I share about all the different things that I do. So my Instagram handle is at Dana Thomas Law, DAYNATHOMAS Law, LAW. There it is right on the screen. So if you just scroll through my page, I'm just always, everything is intentional. So either I'm talking to inspire or motivate or educate or just share something fun. Everything is intentional. So if you have any questions or just want to connect with me, feel free to leave me a DM or send me a DM, and I'm happy to connect with you as well.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Follow her on Instagram at Dana Thomas Law. You can find everything going on with her, as well as get that inspiration, motivation, and wisdom that you need. Dana, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Agreeing to talk with us, sharing. It's been amazing.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. More than happy to be on any platform that GSU has. And I hope that everyone who was listening and watching makes changes in their lives so that they can realize the control that you really do have over your life and your career, right? You do have control. You just have to decide. The first step is to decide and then pursue it.
Absolutely. Perfect. And everyone watching, please make sure you follow us on Instagram, the Young Alumni Council at GSU_YAC, so you can stay up to date on all the events and forums that we have coming up in the future. You don't want to miss out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you again, Dana. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a great evening. We look forward to seeing you soon.